Hi, everyone. Congratulations on making it to the end of the first module. We are so excited that you have started the Biocode System course and you are about to learn this revolutionary practice that really is going to change your life. I'm Rebecca here with Dr. Jill, and this is the part of the program that we refer to as the practice. This is the space that we're going to talk about some things that you just watched in the module and talk about some ways to apply it to your everyday life to just help deepen the understanding of the lessons. So for sure, in this first introductory module, you learned a lot of information about the foundational concepts of the biocode system, the rules to the game, how to catch your moments, and what a biocoding moment even is, those uncomfortable moments. And remember that the goal here is to strengthen yourself. And Dr. Jill, you came up with that fantastic metaphor of life being your gym and to get stronger in it. And a requirement for that is we're the only person in the gym. So can you share a little bit more about how that metaphor came about and why it really works in strengthening our behavioral agility?
The gym metaphor is absolutely the best for this because it's personal. Anybody who goes to the gym is going there for one reason, because they want to get in better shape. And when something is personal like that and it's not hinged upon another person's behavior, then you win. Then you have the freedom to do the work for one reason, because you want to be that person. You want to be that strong. You want to be that empowered. You want to be proud of who you are, regardless of what other people are doing. And the truth is, being able to live in that skin, to live in that space, to know that you are acting and behaving in a certain way, regardless of the behaviors of others, is not only healthy for yourself, but it's the best example that you could give to other people. So the gym metaphor is so powerful because the idea of it being personal, it's all about you. It being practical, it's practiced throughout the day. And it being powerful because it creates behaviors that stick, is what this whole idea is all about. And that's what makes it work. That's why people are doing it. It's working, and it's working for years and years and years through their whole lifetime, because it becomes habitual of how they think and who they are and how they approach stressful moments within themselves and as it relates to others.
Yes, and I think it really does stick, and the model itself is empowering. Just that image of going to the gym and working out and feeling stronger as you go. This program is about practicing and practicing and growing as you go. It meets you where you are, and that certainly is a huge strength of this program. I think one of the other pieces that sometimes it takes a bit of time for people to catch on to is that idea of lowering the bar and keeping it low and just finding those weaknesses that we notice, and then we'll notice a few more, and increasing that awareness. And that it is a practice, not a perfect. Can you talk a little bit more about that need to keep the bar low and really praise what we're catching instead of getting into the coulda, woulda, shoulda, oh, I missed this, and beating ourselves up? Why is growing from praise so important?
I mean, growing from praise is the most important thing, because we live in a world that's based upon solving problems. All day, every day, we're always trying to solve a problem. And a problem doesn't necessarily mean problematic. It just means we're trying to figure something out. We're all living in the unknown. And the way that we were taught historically is to have these big goals and these big ideas and to just, conquer the beast. But when it comes to daily habits and personal development, it's these small changes, these small efforts repetitively over time that builds the habit. It's not the big change. I have never, in all the years that I have been teaching, which has been a very long time, ever had an overnight success. And when we take it back to the gym metaphor, you could go to the gym with the best trainer in the world, the absolute best trainer. You could do every single thing that they tell you to do that day. Do it perfectly, and you're still going to be in the same shape when you come home than you were that day that you did everything perfect. Because what makes the change is the repetition over time. So you become the walking, talking, living example of this. And this work is absolutely the same. We're trying to change behaviors. And when you're trying to change behaviors, you got to lower that bar. You got to meet yourself in that moment. Give it a go. Give it a go the best that you can. Know that that is good enough because that's what happened. Bring your awareness in and get excited about trying better for the next time. Most biocoding isn't about what you get right. It's about seeing where you can't do it, where you're missing it, so you can keep trying better for the next time. So we have to be very forgiving for ourselves so we could build the practice, build the habits, and slowly change and grow over time so it just becomes who we are.
And that different way of thinking really is crucial. You spoke a little bit about playing to our strengths in so many other places in our lives, in school, in our career. We dig in and embrace the places where we can succeed. But to be our best, we really need to shore up the weak spots. And that is what this is about, looking for those pain points and those weak spots.
It's interesting because when you look at what's required for academic intelligence and building that versus behavioral intelligence and agility, the set of rules is exactly the opposite. One, you set the bar high. One, you set the bar low. One is self-directed. One is taught with a teacher. One, you play your strengths. One, you're playing your weaknesses. And the challenge that most people have had as a result of this missing skill set is they were using the wrong strategy and formula to try to build behavioral intelligence. So when you look into your own life, think about what has been told to you. Just take the high road. Just don't worry about it. Just look the other way, right? We're given these strategies that are impossible to build behavioral intelligence. So because we have the right problem with the wrong strategy is why people are stuck. So understanding the opposite is true. The opposite is true. Lower the bar, catch your moments, praise yourself, build yourself up from where you're at, which changes and fluctuates throughout the day, is the only place where behaviors will change. And by doing this and learning this is so freeing because you finally feel like, oh, I get it. Now that's why it's working, because I'm doing the right formula for the right problem.
Yes, you brought up another common sticking point that I know can be a challenge when people start learning this, and something that we'll remind throughout this practice, but that the biocode system is about your behaviors and it's how you show up to meet challenging moments. This is not a step 1 through 5 or 10-step process for solving problems. It's how you bring the posture and the clarity and the confidence and objectivity to problem solve. So it really applies to any scenario in life because it's about the energy and the mentality and the mindset and the behaviors you're bringing in. And I think for a problem solving culture a culture that is all about, here's a product, I need to fix it, that can be a challenge in itself. And it's really important to remind everyone learning, especially at this early stage, that it's the part before problem solving. It's how you bring yourself to the problem. Can you share a little more about why that really is so crucial?
That's most important. To understand that biocoding is a step before problem solving is to understand that it's not about being nice or taking the high road. It's about how strong are you going to be to have those difficult conversations. You know, whether you're talking about a child and behavior, or you're talking about performance management, or you're talking about any problem or behavior that you're trying to solve for, how you show up to have that conversation is what this is about. This is not just be nice. It's not the Nike thing, just do it, just don't worry about it. You know, in my opinion, I think Nike needs to take the just out of their slogan, because nobody could just do something. You know, how you're showing up and working on your own behaviors to enter into difficult scenarios and conversations and to be mindful around that is the game changer. And that's why we say it's a step before problem solving. It's a step before interacting with difficult situations. And that's what we're going to start focusing on, is who we are as we enter into a difficult situation, and who we are as we exit out of a difficult situation is what we're going to be focusing on, because that's the best that you could be for yourself. And quite honestly, that's the best that you could be for others who are trying to figure things out, like we all are.
Yeah. So I'd love to leave people with some more examples of biocode moments. Again, we talk about lowering the bar, and I think in, again, a culture that is progress driven, we power through. We power through our days and we end up feeling exhausted because there are these little pinpricks all throughout the day that we've become oblivious to in some ways. And the biocode system reminds us to bring that awareness back in, to catch those biocode moments before, during, and after, to notice those pain points. So you've invited everyone to catch their weakness, go fishing for those weak moments. But what might they look like? Someone, again, might go through their day, and we probably experience thousands. And when you're at the starting point of this, you may only catch one, which is great, right? We're going to praise ourselves and we're going to look forward to the next one. But what are some moments that people may find themselves catching, whether before, during, or after?
You are absolutely right that we plow through it and we are numb to ourselves. You know, we like to think about it like death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like we're going through our day and nothing really bad is happening. But for some reason, at the end of the day, we're exhausted, we're tired, we're beat up, we're spent, and we don't know why. Because these little moments that are happening throughout the day that we have accepted as normal. Well, this is just the way life is. This is just what's required. This is just how I need to act. There is no other way. We have accepted this as our authentic truth. But the real truth is that there's so many opportunities in these small little moments when you start to biocode those moments. So as you get stronger throughout that day and as you keep practicing these skill sets, you experience, like we've talked about in the module, the same day differently. And these moments do not have to be the big things. For most people, once those big things get out of the way, they're the most obvious ones, like big conflict, big problems. Maybe it's a life problem. Maybe it's a stress problem. Maybe it's a work problem. Maybe it's a relationship problem. It's the big boulders. You know, when you start biocoding, those big boulders start getting out of the way pretty quickly. Then we're looking for the small rocks. And then we're looking for the little tiny pebbles. And then we're looking for the little grains of sand. When you start to get great at this process and you start to see what I'm referring to is the little grains of sand throughout your day, and you're doing the work when you're basically asymptomatic, is where most of your growth will come from. Because you're able to identify that moment, do a little biocoding in that moment, which you'll learn about later in the modules. You'll have a little growth in that moment, a little bit of strength in that moment, and then you'll carry on to the next moment and the next one. So it'll give you a system of constantly being in a state of self-improvement in the most effortless way possible. So my suggestion is, don't underestimate the small moments. The small moments may look like somebody said something and your eyes roll back like, oh, gotta be kidding. The small moments might be where I can't even find my pen, it ran out of ink, and you're like that. A small moment may be you're trying to sign onto your computer and you forgot your password and it's driving you crazy. It's the tiny things that are going to eventually create the greatest impact in your life, because when you grow in these little moments, over time, you become so strong, so resilient, and so empowered to be able to handle, bring it, whatever comes your way. So yeah, lowering the bar is really important. We'll notice the big ones. Those are easy. Everybody notices their big moments, but also pay attention to the tiny, tiny little things that annoy you. Maybe it's how somebody acts. It's how somebody speaks. Maybe it's somebody being repetitive. I don't know. There's so many moments, right, that can annoy or disturb us. And they're all equally valuable for your personal growth in this program.
Yes, and there are so many moments out there. You will begin to see them as you start this journey. So here we are. You've got your homework. You've learned the foundational concepts and the rules to the game, and you have this challenge to catch your moments, catch the weakness, catch those pain points. And this is about you. This is all about self-empowerment, and that starts with you. So we are so glad that you're here, and we're looking forward to all of the lessons ahead. And we'll see you next time.